let's talk about Siemens here. Are they serious about interoperability? Okay. I want to start with, let's talk about the Siemens stack first. Okay. So that, because especially if you're here in the United States, you're not going to be really familiar. Like everybody knows the Rockwell stack, right? You know what products they offer at basically each layer in the stack for the most part. But we'll talk about the Siemens stack. So down at the edge, you've got all industrial automation, right? So you've got PLCs, HMIs, you have sensors, you have motion controllers like the D445 motion controllers, right? Then you have industrial edge directly above that, which is just basically edge computing, which there is an overlap between industrial automation and edge compute because Siemens more and more is embedding edge computing capabilities in their industrial automation offerings. Okay. So they really have like a 4-layer stack instead of a 5 or 6-layer stack. So you got automation, you got industrial edge, then you got Mindsphere, which is their IIoT platform offering. Okay. They're in terms of their digital transformation stack. And then above that, their cloud offering is Mendix. Their AI ML cloud offering is the Mendix offering. So are they serious about interoperability? So I'm going to go through a bunch of these questions that came through, and then I'll answer the question in more detail. So Aaron wrote, where do you guys rank Siemens' outlook on interoperability compared to other big companies like Rockwell, ABB, Honeywell, GE, Mitsubishi, Omron, Bosch? I'm curious who seems to be plowing through their marketing team's old school full stack solution partners only sales approach the most. Disclaimer, I'm too lazy to double check if all listed companies have a solution for every layer of the stack. Yeah, you didn't. I mean, ABB does, Rockwell does, Honeywell does, GE does. Mitsu, not so much. Most of the stack. Omron, really more edge. Bosch, more edge. So, but it was pretty close. Good. It's a fair question. And then Aaron followed up with, do you think that a 4.0 systems integrator can get most of their tools to work with whatever full stack architecture you want? Or are they alluding to architecture comprised of software from Siemens and Siemens approved partners only? All right. So I'll answer the first questions first. Where do I rank Siemens' outlook on interoperability compared to the other big companies like Rockwell? If we're going to include Microsoft and Amazon in the group, okay? So if we're going to include Microsoft and Amazon in the group of big companies, and you could make the argument because you have edge compute for both, Microsoft and, both Microsoft and Amazon support industrial protocols and they have edge compute capabilities, right? That doesn't get you down to the process automation level. But because they support OPC and they got edge compute capabilities in their IoT edge solutions, it would basically go AWS first, Microsoft second, Siemens third. If you don't include Amazon and Microsoft, then Siemens is at the top of the heap. Okay, Siemens would be, of the big companies, Siemens would be your number one outfit. And the reason why, and I mentioned this last week, I've had conversations with at least 100 different reps at Siemens in various product groups. Okay. And the one thing that stands out to me is when you ask Siemens, someone who works at Siemens, what Siemens' digital strategy is for Industry 4.0, they all give you the same answer. So that means Siemens has a digital strategy. Okay. If you ask them, well, what would Siemens' ideal architecture be if we're going to use a Siemens stack and understanding that not all solutions will be a Siemens solution or a Siemens partner solution? What does that architecture look like? They will show you an architecture that contains native Siemens protocols, native Siemens field bus and IT protocols, plus in IoT protocols like MQTT. If you were to ask Rockwell, for example, Rockwell is going to give you a connected enterprise response. I mean, it's solely a Rockwell stack. And if you were to ask, let's say you go over to PowerFlex group, go to Automation Fair, go talk to the PowerFlex product manager, go talk to the ControlLogix product manager, go to the Factory Talk Innovation Suite product manager, and ask them what Rockwell's digital strategy is for interoperability. You're going to get crickets, or you're going to get three completely different answers. Okay. Siemens is definitely serious about interoperability just on those grounds. Okay. Number two, I want to answer the second question. Do you think that a 4.0 systems integrator can get most of their tools to work with whatever full stack architecture you want? Or are they alluding to architecture comprised of software from Siemens and Siemens approved partners only? All right. Obviously, Siemens and any other OEM is going to prefer that they're selling you only their solutions. The difference between Rockwell and Siemens, in my opinion, right now, is Siemens has accepted that they're never going to have 100% coverage in an organization. That there has to be mechanisms to easily integrate third-party, non-Siemens partners into a Siemens infrastructure. But Rockwell, that is not Rockwell's philosophy. It's also not Schneider's philosophy, weirdly enough. And I'm not sure why. And I don't know what ABB's philosophy is there. I just don't talk to enough people at ABB. So I would say by default, they would rather you go with all Siemens, but they have a solution externally. Siemens has a long way to go. Okay, Siemens still allows politics and bureaucracy to dictate their decision-making far too much. Let me see. Oh, I wanted to mention, is Siemens Mindsphere, Tomas, open architecture and tech-based, or is it drive customers to a vendor lock-in eventually? It is definitely open architecture, especially if you're leveraging Mindsphere through a WinCCOA integration. But even by itself, Mindsphere, the only complaint I have about Mindsphere is when you ask Mindsphere about, well, you have the Mindsphere group about consumption of data into Mindsphere from external or from non-Siemens data points, they're going to give you a pretty generic OPC response. And if you ask them, well, how are you leveraging MQTT or other IoT protocols, they're pretty standoffish about it. Richard Blanchett, Siemens seems to be building from the plant floor up. I'm a little at a loss on how you can build a digital architecture that way. I would argue that that's the best way to build it, Richard, from the plant floor up. Now, to your point, I don't know how you could pick your IoT protocol from the plant floor, which is foundational. We just shot a video called "What is the Unified Namespace?" where I answer nearly all. I just shot a whiteboard video, before we did pre-production for this. It's probably, I don't know how long it is, maybe 20 minutes. It's not like any other unified namespace video I've ever shot before. And there's four pillars of what is the unified namespace. The first one is it's a single source of truth. Second is its structure and events of the business. The third is it's the hub that all the smart things talk through. And number four, it's the foundation of your digital architecture. To Richard's point here, how do you build architecture from the plant floor up? How you can build a digital architecture from the plant floor up when the plant floor doesn't have any of the protocols you need for a digital infrastructure, digital architecture. So I'm assuming that's what he means there. But I think the solutions that you build from the plant floor up are one of the foundations of your digital architecture because you're solving plant floor problems. You should start with solving plant floor problems.